What?
You can just, yes, you don't have to all.
But he looks as though he wants to. so
I was
he
looking
wants-
forward to
If you
it.
want to go for
You
it,
can do the
you can.
writing, I've been writing, so you can do the writing.
You absolutely can. So anyways, go ahead,
Okay.
sorry.
It's one of those things you look forward to.
Call the November 17th meeting of the zoning board to order, and to my left is Chris Whalen. I keep going whether it's Whalen or Whalen.
It's okay.
Whalen, I'm Ben Nelson, Scott McNamara to my right, and to the far right is Herb Heller. So we will, administration.
Not-
Nothing.
Nothing?
And minutes of the, I don't have a date on top, but whatever,
Do you have-
It's the 15th of September.
September 15th.
Can I get a copy of the minutes?
Oh, you don't have a cut,
No.
of course you
I think
can.
I have a duplicate on case 1140.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's
And you
all right.
don't, I think your minutes, do you have an agenda?
I do
You
not
don't-
have an agenda.
Here.
I mean, I'm assuming that somewhere along the way, we're gonna, okay, great.
Sorry.
Now, I think Chris is the only one that was here for these minutes.
You can decide to vote as they're written correctly, or you could all abstain, and we could do it next month.
Until, yes. So does
Oh.
anybody,
All right. I thought it was a matter if we all read them and can still,
Right.
as the appropriate, if there's,
yes, we,
or do you vote to abstain?
no, you can vote on them if they look to be, if you were not
I need a
here.
minute then to do
But,
You're gonna make me read the whole thing? I just make a motion to
but generally
table it
there's
till
a
next
couple
month.
people.
You want,
I was gonna make that motion,
all right,
I don't feel comfortable voting on
Okay.
minutes that I wasn't here to vote the accuracy
Okay.
of, so.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, generally there's a couple people that were actually here instead of just one.
Mm.
All right, so do I have a motion to table?
Did you make it or did I?
So
make it?
moved, yeah.
Yeah.
Second? All in favor for table on minutes?
Aye.
Okay.
And I didn't read it. Do need an agenda.
Okay, so I will read the case, and then the applicant can stand up and make their presentation, and then we'll have questions and the board and the butters, and then we will close it to the board. So, case 1139 Cinnamon Street owner and Elisa Pepin, agent, requests a special exception as provided for in Article 2, Section 210.2 of the zoning ordinance to permit a group preschool center. The property is identified as map 117, lot 55, and is located at 70 John Stark Highway in the heavy commercial B2 zoning district. So, we'll, go ahead and tell us what you're looking to do. Oh, and just, when anybody speaks, state your name so that the minute taker can get it.
Okay, so I'm the director, Alicia Pepin from Cinnamon Street Childcare. We are looking to relocate to 70 John Stark Highway. And the proposed use will not be detrimental to the overall character of the neighborhood. So by no means, Cinnamon Street will not be detrimental to the character of 70 John Stark Highway. This preschool does not create any excessive noise or no odor. The proposed preschool will not be injurious, not luxurious, or offensive in any way detrimental to the neighborhood. And compared to the amount and size of available parking, we will not be creating traffic congestion or hazards that pose a risk to life.
Took me in the Wayback Machine seeing the picture of the Ames
Yeah, I was gonna say, where is that? Is that,
That's,
Now, are you building
big
a
lots.
new building in the back corner there, is that?
No, so
Oh,
we
okay.
would be relocating into the old liquor store.
Okay.
okay.
All right, well, one of the drawings looked like it was a new.
that's the playground.
Oh,
It's a
that-
fenced-in
that-
playground, which,
Okay.
that's why,
So is the Ames what's now the Shaw's?
Ames is the big
Ocean
lot.
State
Big
Drive.
lot,
Ocean
Ocean
State.
State.
Ocean
Oh, that's
Sorry.
Ocean State, okay. Oh, there's the hardware store,
Okay, I saw that drawing and I thought, is that new construction? So that's, all right, so you're gonna be in the liquor
So-
store?
Oh, I got it, okay.
Provided in the packet that you guys have, there is a floor plan that I had drawn out.
Yeah.
I had actually met with, their architect and we had drawn out the floor plan. So that's what it would look like inside for us. And there is a back door that would lead out back. And, I had also met with Chief Humuzi and he said that, we could have a fenced-in playground from that back door all the way around into where Benatti's park. So that whole area would be where our playground would be.
So this drawing is what's inside in that
Yes,
area,
the
right?
floor plan.
The floor plan for what you got.
What, isn't there a passageway for truck traffic or something to get around there? Or is there used to be a
Yes.
way to get around, so is that on the outside of this, that you're fencing this, and it comes around?
Yes, so there is a little bit of,
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
a little bit of a landing
Yeah,
where that back door is.
yeah,
So it would still be on, the fencing would be on the landing.
the
part.
landing, okay.
Yep, so the trucks would still be able to get around it.
There are aerial pictures,
I'm looking at it, and
and I think there's
Oh,
some
okay.
backyard pictures, some,
Yeah.
you talking about this?
well, that's the aerial, but she also, I
She
think
has
the,
two pictures of the, like these here.
I think that's, yeah, the back.
We're,
So,
Well, this is in front, this is the front of what used to be a liquor store.
Yeah, it's
This
the
is
one with the
behind.
2 cars is
One-
the,
this
is what
one
the
here.
back
Yeah.
looks
the
like.
one with the dumpster.
Yeah,
It has where those cars are parking, that is where the playground would be, and
okay.
all of that would be fenced in.
And the other traffic that goes around the facility goes on this side of it.
Yes.
Okay.
do they use that corner right there for anything? It doesn't look like it's used for anything.
No, we do not use that for anything right now.
And right now, you have a back door that goes to the very back of that building. It would be ideal to be able to punch a hole in the side of that building and make a access into that corner, wouldn't it?
We already spoke with the fire marshal and he said that the access way out back would be the best way to go, with what we already have. And there is another door that has, I believe there's 2 doors that pull in, and he said that is not a proper
Egress.
emergency exit.
Well, I think they parked some back there too
In that little square,
Yeah.
like where your kitchen and freezer and fridge and stuff is, that would be on your floor plan. But I'm just,
Yeah, the one thing I would, I don't know if I would put it in there, I would just suggest like a Jersey barrier or something outside the fence, because there is a lot of truck traffic that, you know,
So nothing could climb the fence.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a million bread trucks and trailer trucks and stuff that loop around there.
yeah, it looks like they come in from that side, go in, and then back into the delivery for Shaw's.
Well, it depends, they go both ways, there's trailer truck, the other side, the Shaw's, there's a,
On this
they
side
go
of
in
it?
from both ways.
On
yeah.
this side of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trade trucks parked on this end.
Yeah.
Anyone else like to speak? Butters? Any more questions from the
Yeah,
board?
okay, so overall, how many square feet are you talking about here for, you have a childcare space quoted back here, and is the 40 square foot or the 35 square foot apply to you? Because you're pre-existing, you're moving from somewhere else?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
so currently, at our current space, we have the 35, but since we would be moving, we would have to move to the 40.
Okay, and this is how many square feet?
That is almost 3,800 square feet.
Okay. And how many attendees?
So currently, we're able to have 49 children, and it would give us a chance to have roughly a little bit more than that. We would have to have the licensor come in and look at the
Right.
space to license us there. It would give us a chance to expand.
And what are STARS?
STARS is our before and after school program.
Okay.
Yeah, and the square footage and the number of kids per square foot, it's all regulated by the state, right?
Yeah, that's out of our
Yeah.
control.
I was just curious whether you have more or less in this space.
So what is the variance that they're looking for exactly?
It's not a
It's a special exception.
Special
It's
ex-
allowed via your oversight in this zone. It's an
Okay,
allowed usage via your oversight.
okay.
So
Should-
currently in our space, we only have 3,000 square feet, and we're only able to have like an infant room. Our preschool and toddlers are in one room, and our school-age children are like in our cafeteria. And in this space, we're able to expand to give our groups their own space. And at that point, we're able to expand our classrooms, we're able to enroll more children, and more accessible to the community where families may or may not have that transportation.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, so the only questions we have to answer are the three, the detrimental to character, noxious or offensive, and contrary to public health.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was
This-
looking at that, so I'm like,
This, in my mind, doesn't seem to,
I do have a little concern about the front of the building. As far as pickup and drop off of the children, I know there's fire lane along that front side of the building. Do you plan on using that area for drop off and pickup? I know a lot of people are just gonna wanna pull up front of the building.
Yeah, so I have reached out to Brian, who is Waterstone Properties. He was able to try and reach out to the owners. Unfortunately, he has not gotten back to me. He did say that most likely they're able to put in a crosswalk and help with some of that. We are very cautious with our safety with the children, so we can definitely put a lot of signage out there about how we can protect the children and the families with getting the children from the vehicles to the building and back. And we can also possibly put out like the green aliens that have like the flags about like that. We did also talk to Brian about possibly trying to get at least 5 designated parking spots for our families, so that they have more of like a convenient space, so that it's closer to the building. But obviously he has not gotten back to me about that. And then just obviously making sure that there's a lot of signage and posting. And then obviously trying to get like a staff member out there when there is like families out there like, hey, let's try and get you helping getting them in the building and in a timely manner.
Do you have a specific, like, kids are dropped off most of the time in the morning and then picked up in the afternoon?
So-
Very little in between, or?
We open at 6:30 in the morning, and then most of our families are there by 8:30 in the morning. So it shouldn't really reflect most of the other businesses. And then most of the pickups happen between 4:30 and 5:30 in the afternoons. And then a couple of the children are picked up around 3:30. So we can definitely try and manage like, okay, get the kids ready and have them ready so like the parents can just quickly pick them up and make it so that it's not a lengthy pickup time and they're not waiting and,
Yeah, mornings would definitely be pretty quiet, and the afternoon it
Yeah.
could be busy, but
and we're pretty good, like if we see a parent pulling up, like, okay, time to get going, like,
It's just,
hurry it up.
sometimes Shaw's can get rather hectic, and I've seen some rather crabby people come around.
Yeah.
do that, so.
How would a crosswalk work? Would it be like the ones that are here downtown that you're required to stop? Or is it just more of an idea that you have a marked walkway?
You wouldn't be required to stop at a private parking lot.
That's what I'm wondering, is
And
there's
al- although I think what I would think would work is that you'd need a member of the staff to be out there if children are in the cross, so you're
Yeah.
not. And
Crossing
obviously the
guard.
parents are supposed to escort the kids too.
Yeah.
Right.
But there is gonna be a lot of back and forth in the afternoon. And I think either putting out temporary signs, you put them out every day and you take them in every day in the afternoon for designated parking just during drop off or pickup.
Well,
I
are you-
would think could be beneficial.
Are you concerned about, because I'm thinking along the same lines, it's a fire lane, and
Yeah,
you
well,
can't park there,
I
but,
can see, yeah, we have the same problem in front of Shaw's. I don't know
Oh,
if you
yeah.
ever watch, people
Oh, yeah.
pull up in that
Yeah.
fire lane.
Yeah.
all
when
the
it, when
time.
it, when it's cold, the
Yeah.
husband will drop off wife, and
Yeah.
sometimes they'll park and sometimes they'll sit there.
Well, sitting is one thing, but leaving a car there.
Yeah.
But I seem to remember that when the liquor store was there, and what's next door to it now? There used to be.
Pharmacy.
Dr. Bern-
there was a dental
Yeah,
office there
Dental,
too.
but before that, there was like a dollar store or something.
Yep.
It's way down the end,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
and
the
then-
other-
But so people are coming and going with kids in tow, and
Well,
This
it's,
is-
The old dollar store is a mixed martial arts now, so there's plenty of kids going in and out.
well, that's
of
what
there.
I'm. Yeah, I don't dislike the idea of a crosswalk, but I can't think of
Well,
anything else you could do.
You're right in that corner,
Yeah.
that's what I was
Yeah.
more concerned, because cars come out of the
Come
Shaw's
whipping
parking lots
around,
and whip
yeah.
around, yeah.
it is busy, but because it's busy, I think most people are aware, I mean, there's a lot of elderly folks going in and out of Shaw's that you have to go slow for, and there's always people crossing, so
Mm.
definitely concerned, but I don't, actually, it's
Is
not
it
part of our.
in here in the administrative review, Newport CO? Is that certificate of occupancy?
Yes, obviously they would need that from us prior to conducting business.
Do any of these things we're bringing up get handled or just addressed in that?
Yes, well, there would be, it's the building inspector, and then it's the safety officer, and then it's me, I'm the final sign off on it. I usually take their lead, but if we have concerns, and then obviously the state would regulate this a lot too, and maybe the state would even possibly have concerns about the safety of children in and out of the building. I'm not sure, but, we'd at least make sure the structure is safe, and then that exterior playground area is safe. That's what we would be inspecting. The outside, not as much.
Right.
Although I do believe that you guys could request then because it's a special exception, to make sure they have a drop-off and pickup plan, which I'm sure they're gonna have anyways.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking valid concerns for the safety of kids, but it doesn't really fit any of the three criteria that we have.
No.
Public
Not-
health.
Well, public health and safety and general welfare falls under that, but
So you're saying it would not meet it unless we do some additional
I
requirements?
don't, there's so much parking available in that parking lot, seriously, that,
It's questionable, I just thought it was something that we needed to look at.
sure.
No, if it's, well, I consider it safety and general welfare, so, okay.
I don't think that. I don't think unhelpful waste disposal is an issue.
No.
Unless you're piling diapers up behind the building.
That's hazardous waste.
That's, I guess. So I think the only question we have is traffic for dropping off and picking up kids. Then I think that's the only.
Well, also around back, the playground area.
Yes, in and around back.
Like, that could be something that I think you could put in the contingencies with the Jersey barriers or something.
Something's at least as
A little
substantial.
more substantial
Yeah.
than just whatever,
Just a chain
a
link.
wide chain link fence. That's why you have this oversight, is to
Yeah.
check for
And
these
if we-
Well, in
concerns.
the way back picture, they got pictures of Jersey barriers there, maybe they got some left over in the back, we can put in front of it. Definitely protecting that fenced area
Oh, definitely.
would be a concern. I don't think it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Comes the National Guard. This is the National Guard going into the airport.
I know.
it's a little, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little weird.
I've been down there a
Trail
lot.
trucks come in one direction and bread trucks come in the other direction, so sometimes there's two-way traffic there.
What do they park in that little corner? I haven't,
Just employees, Shaw's employees generally.
oh,
And
okay.
it will be,
That was
Well,
actually grass at one point.
Oh.
They
Oh,
turned
was
it into a parking lot. Yeah, yeah, that little triangle was all grass.
Oh, really?
The store was first built, yeah.
I think some of the Shaws, I think maybe management gets to park there. So, I'm loath to do, designated parking spaces because they may not be able to get them.
That might be true, yeah. Although,
And, you know, if I'm the Chinese restaurant or something, don't know if I'd wanna give up.
no, I don't think it would necessarily be fair. I do think that you know, that the signage that you pick up, that would be
Yeah.
temporary, that, you know, during drop-off and pickup, you have a few spaces that are
Did they
set
have-
for the parents.
Did they ever open their dining room again?
No,
I didn't think so. I thought they were just doing pickup and drop off now for the Chinese
but,
restaurant.
my guess is, you're right, people are gonna pull up in the fire lane, drop the kids off and leave, which is less noxious than it is for Shaw's, you know, people doing it. Frankly, that's probably about as safe as anything.
Well, I don't know if that's something that Chief Unuzi would have to,
I think Scott might be right, that it's one thing about pulling up and not leaving your vehicle or parking where a fire truck has to literally push the car out of the way, but when people can just move. But again, I'm not sure, I would have to ask Steve about that.
I think leaving the car, like if you pull up and leave the car running and pick your child into the building.
Or even just if they meet the parents out at their
Right.
cars and they hand the children to the,
Quick.
yes, yes, I know, yes. Then children get out and walk in, and then you don't have to cross the street. But that is a fire lane.
yes.
That would be a routine done always in the fire lane, which I don't. There is also a bus that will go through here and now have a stop in that parking lot. Now, buses will just stop in the middle of the road, and everyone has to stop, so that's not a concern. They will pull right up front, not in the fire lane, they'll block the road, they'll stop, they'll put on, and the kids will easily get out. So, in essence, I guess parents could stop in the road, not in the fire, and
Well,
just stop.
the transportation bus does that for Shaw's too, I mean, they stop.
Right, so maybe that would be the way, as long as they have a policy. I mean,
I think as
I can
long
have
as it's-
Steve work with them and what
Yeah.
he thinks. That, yeah, because people could, if during pickup, if, like she said, the little green men, I didn't know that's what they were called, those little.
The aliens,
Put
yeah,
those
the
out
little-
so people were aware, and then you could do a routine of people lining up and stopping.
So you have to be, before this is finally open, you have to get approved by the state with all the, do they have to come and inspect your? Okay. I thought so, but, so they would have to inspect all of that anyhow, wouldn't they? I mean, where the kids are gonna be dropped off, how you're, Your whole-
You'd have to have licensing come in and check everything before we could even go in and open.
so, and then would they be looking into your procedures for doing all of that stuff?
Yeah, they'd have to look at the playground, they'd have to look into everything.
Okay. Well, I think I don't know,
Yeah, I don't know whether just the condition could be,
having adequate
Jersey barriers for the back
protection
and
for-
having an adequate ingress egress plan approved by the state or something could be part of a motion. But, I will entertain motions, I guess.
So are we,
I'll
make a
start with
motion to
the-
start with deliberation?
Well, all right,
Or,
well, I
Or
wasn't
have we
gonna
done this
bother with
already?
that. I want favor of going, to have a motion to go into deliberation.
So
Aye.
moved.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Is there any more deliberation? All right, I would entertain motion on A.
I would make a motion that the proposed use will not be detrimental to the overall character of the neighborhood by reason of undue variation in nature of other uses in the city, including design, scale, noise, and odor. And I would say that standard A has been met in that it will not be detrimental.
second, I agree.
Yes, in other words, A, yes.
Say yes.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, B.
So, I make a motion that the proposed will not be injurious, noxious, or offensive in any way detrimental to the neighborhood, and has standard B been met? I would say,
Do we have a second?
I'd say yes.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, then C, we could make a motion for, now, fence, are you thinking like chain link fence for the playground, or?
We haven't really discussed anything like that, but I'm willing to negotiate on anything.
Well, yeah, I know that matters, I'm thinking something substantial that would
Yeah,
stop a bread truck before it.
no, definitely,
And then it wouldn't really matter what kind of, as long as it
Yeah.
was strong enough to keep the kid out,
definitely.
or kid in.
Kid in and
Yeah.
trucks out.
Yeah,
I think I've seen the standalone chain link fence systems that they use to
Yeah.
corral people at fairs and things like that, so you've got something like that in addition to a,
Behind the Jersey barriers.
yeah,
so to
on the
speak. They
child
also
side,
make-
if you
They also
will.
make barriers that have areas to put things up on top of them as well.
That's true, that they've got the barriers built in, with
Yeah.
that stuff built in. I don't know
Structure.
what kind of expense that would be, or whether.
I
they can-
think it's sufficient to say that our concern is to keep a vehicle from encroaching on the playground as opposed to keeping the kids in.
Right.
So,
Let them run into the wall.
one will satisfy the requirement of the
well,
other.
you don't
so-
want kids running out in between the bread trucks either.
Right.
Yeah, that would-
right.
So, and I don't know how we word that, Jersey barrier or similar, my guess is the landlord would be happier with a Jersey barrier than a post driven in the, because they have those cement posts that they put around hydrants and stuff, so my guess is the property owner would much prefer a Jersey barrier.
I think that would be better anyway, but can we just say that that we feel at a minimum it has to be something that would keep a heavy vehicle out of the playground area?
Yeah.
We don't really care what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, you can go ahead and make the motion. And then
All right.
satisfactory,
I mean, you're saying that, I'll make a motion that the proposed will not be contrary to public health, safety, and general welfare by reason of undue traffic congestion or hazards that pose a risk of life and property to be unsanitary and create unhealthful waste disposal or unhealthful conditions with the
With the condition.
with the condition that a suitable barrier be used
Around the playground.
around the playground to protect the kids
From a heavy
from
vehicle.
from vehicle traffic.
Coming in.
Yeah, or going,
Right.
transiting that area.
Right.
and a
And Ben can write that.
suitable, suitable pickup and drop-off plan,
Be, at the entrance,
Yeah.
be created, yeah.
So, suitable barrier to protect the playground from the heavy, from traffic. And then,
vehicles. Somebody help me with spelling.
I can, wait, don't worry about it, I can. Are you on the NOD?
Commercial vehicles and
Did you say suitable plan
yeah.
for drop-off and pickup?
Yeah.
Be created, yeah.
Yeah.
I can even have that on file here, after it's created, and Steve obviously can work with them.
They're gonna have to do that anyway.
And
I'm
yeah,
sure the
and with the
state's gonna say.
state
"These
too,
are
yeah.
not the big-"
Right.
With state and PD.
Yeah, and fire and.
But it's
everybody
probably
else,
the
you know.
safety officer mostly.
Yeah.
And safety. All right, here's a suitable barrier to protect fence and kids from vehicles and a suitable pickup and drop-off plan created with state and safety officer.
I'd like to say heavy vehicles in that.
All right.
I'm thinking trucks.
Should we
you
note
know.
in the playground area, or?
Yeah, so sort of a suitable barrier to keep heavy vehicles out of it.
Suitable barrier to protect playground fence and kids from heavy vehicles and a suitable pickup and drop-off plan created with state and safety officer.
So this used to be the dental office, wasn't it? Or was this the liquor?
This was the
That was the
liquor
liquor
store,
store.
right?
I think the dental office is in the corner. Aren't they still there?
Yes.
Okay, somebody wanna make that motion, or did somebody make it?
So moved.
All right.
Chris was the motioner. and this
Okay,
was
all right,
second.
all right. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Excuse
Okay.
me. Chris was the motioner, I did not have a second.
Her.
So, thank you.
If you could, then if you could just sign the NOD, and then I'll transcribe these. I'll transcribe this for the conditions for you. And then- Oh, that's the next case. Yeah, I'll transcribe them on.
Okay. Yeah,
And then
sure.
I'll take all this, perfect, thank you, and here's case 2, and here's variance cheat sheet. You'll get the notice of decision in the mail, and unless you want to stay for the next case, you're free to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you can call me tomorrow, Alex. I mean, Alicia, I'm sorry.
Start with the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Case number 1140, Richard and Dale Kelly, owner, Doug Campbell, agent, request variance is provided for Article 4, Section 4097 of the zoning ordinance to permit a reduction in the required off-street parking. The property is identified as map 111, lot 174, and is located at 76 Sunapee Street in the heavy commercial B2 zoning district. Mr. Campbell.
It's Doug Campbell. So this is a property that I have under contract to purchase, and I have approval from the current owner to come tonight for this variance request. So just to kind of give overview, this building was an auto parts store. My plan is to convert it into apartments. Between 7 and 9 apartments, I believe is what we can do there. The building, just a little orientation of the building. The first floor is in two sections, slab on grade, open area on the front, and the same in the back. What most people don't know is actually there's a second level in the back, and that's a very key aspect to my plan, because that would be 3 apartments in the second floor. So there are 9 spots right now. If you go there today and look at the spots, there are 9 painted right there. With 9 apartments is what I believe I can get there, and what will be economically viable to pursue this project. There's only 9 spots, and I don't believe I can put any more, because part of my plan would be to also do some beautification in the front, add some trees, et cetera, to make it kind of look nice. So my request is to allow me to have one spot per unit with the planned intention of 9, so 1 per unit, versus the 2 that is in the ordinance. And I want to cite a couple of very important things. One is, there was a study conducted for New Hampshire Housing, I have a copy of it here, and they found that on average, people have less than 1 car per apartment. And I should highlight also, these apartments will be 1-bedroom inefficiencies. These will not be 3 bedrooms, they will not be 2 bedrooms. The intent is that it's 1 bedroom or an efficiency, so fairly small. But I have a housing study that was done for New Hampshire Housing. In New Hampshire shows most people don't even have 1 car, so on average across all of the apartments that they surveyed. So that's my request.
Okay, I think
And the zoning does allow for multifamily in that zone.
Right, your variance is requesting to reduce the number of required parking places by half.
Correct.
Do you have a plan for that, a plot plan of any kind?
Yeah, so I have a first pass sketch. This is just first
Do you want me
draft.
to make copies?
Well, I don't really know what you're planning here without that. And
You familiar with the property?
I am very familiar with it. And the other thing I don't know is, I'm not familiar with this study you have. I
Okay.
read
New Hampshire
it, I
Housing,
don't know.
yeah.
I don't know anything about it. I don't know what they cite, so.
Yeah, they presented that with, previous to one up on Spring Street.
Yeah, I know, and I didn't
Yeah, I know, I know you
get
weren't
it
there.
either, so.
How can I give you a copy?
Could we get a copy of that?
Well, okay, so here's my problem. Am I gonna sit down and read it now? Or, I mean, I don't have any time to study this.
The actual information is on 3 sentences. It's all that's in the report.
You said there's a study done. I'd like to
Yeah.
see the study.
Yeah, well, I mean, the study is not very long.
It's just the reporting, what the study came up with. I'd like to see how the study was done, how they justify their figures.
Only 4% of households had more than 2 vehicles.
Okay, how did they arrive at that number, that kind of thing? And I'm not,
Okay, so
honestly, right now, I don't have enough information to make a good decision, if I'm gonna make a decision.
that's perfect.
Yeah, so,
So the other thing to keep in mind is these will be efficiencies in 1-bedrooms. There's no plan for anything.
Understood. Understood. Do you wanna see this?
Okay, my sense is there are some abutters, if, someone would like to, go ahead, just say what your name is and what you think.
Hi, I'm David Gamache. I am actually at lot 175.
So we're at 12 Summer Street, so we're literally the
Behind.
only
Single family.
single-family home in the area. And while we absolutely understand the need for housing, we understand we live with apartments everywhere. The problem is the parking. We already have people who use our driveway for parking when the adjacent lot that is being referenced here in the front, the additional public parking directly across the street. We've had friends get ticketed if they've been parking overnight due to the fact we don't even have enough parking in our driveway to have people. The concern is with this reduction in parking spots, what is going to happen to parking in general? Who is to say we won't end up having extra cars parked in our driveway when it's just me at home? I'd have to have them towed. Or even the fact that the property lines are so narrow, who's to say people are not going to be driving their vehicles around the building? Because people already do that between Beach Street and Summer Street.
They
And
go
so,
through the back of this,
Mhm.
they go behind here?
yes,
Behind
they
here?
do.
There's an easement there.
What's gonna happen to that?
The easement will remain because it's in the deed.
So people will still be able to drive through it? Okay.
It's not something I'm gonna watch for, but I'm saying in the deed, there's an easement to allow, go from one side to the other. So.
I'm sorry, it's an easement for the public?
Access for the-
It's a,
Or is it
according to
your
the
access,
deed,
or?
the deed that when we signed the contract for the house, it was for a right-of-way, which is not,
Your property has a right-of-way across there. Ah, okay, that's not an easement. That's
My,
not-
this property, 76 Sunapee, has an easement to allow for that.
Right, okay.
we
So
do
that little,
have
that little
right-of-way.
plot that's right here that he shows on his thing, is that's your property
That's our
right there?
property.
And that's your driveway?
That's our driveway.
Let me see, please.
So we absolutely have no problem with the fact that permits are going in, because especially if the
Yeah.
building gets
Yeah, that's right.
beautified.
And this end is yours,
But the
your
concern
easement
is
is
between
here.
our property values and the parking. And I'll be quite blunt, my husband is DOT. During the winter, I'm by myself. I have to take care of the snow by myself. I can't be dealing with random cars in my driveway by myself. And we've always had a very good relationship with the current owner, and we'd like to remain that way, but it's a very big concern of ours, especially because I'm by myself.
Okay, yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm Richard Kelly.
I see
The
that
back
when
of
you're
that
done.
property, the back of that property on Sunapee Street is, I own within a foot of the house on the western side. And the other side, half of their driveway's on my land. I had a survey. I don't know if you got a picture of it or not, but I had never seen a problem on their side with parking.
Talking about this?
You can see, like it is 20 feet behind the building on the westerly side, and I don't know how many feet on the other side.
About 10.
Half of their driveway, and I've never seen a problem on their side. There is a problem on the other side, because the house behind it, they use it as a parking lot. In fact, about 4 cars parking there all the time, and I've tried to chase them out.
You're talking about like 173 on this other map?
The one on
The Beach Street
Beach
property?
Street side,
That is 15 Beach Street.
that apartment house, they've always got 2 or 3, 4 cars in there, which they're not supposed to. In the wintertime, I make sure they don't get in there, because I plow the snow back there. But I've owned the property for 40 years, and I've never had a problem with parking.
So you currently own the one that,
I've owned,
He owns-
I own
he
some,
owns the other
I own
parts.
some.
Yes, the does.
So I have a car, I just met him for the first time.
I never met the man, I didn't know what his plans were. But, the realtors handled it, but there is parking behind that building on the westerly side, not on their side, there isn't room. And they've been great neighbors. But the other side abuses the privilege. And
so really
I
you're more
think there's-
concerned about 173 than you are about these guys at
I'm not
175.
worried about these guys at all.
I mean, if there's, we've
I can
always,
understand their concern.
But we've always had a very friendly relationship, and like we said, when you rebut somebody, you want to be friendly with them
Oh, yeah,
to
I
maintain a
can relate
good
to that,
relationship.
absolutely.
But I
Yeah.
think in the front of the building, yeah, there's, he says there's 9, there's probably room for 10. And also on the westerly side, there's room for 1 or 2 cars. I don't know what the plans are for the apartments, but there's room for more vehicles than 9.
Where the plan is to put some trees and such.
What?
To beautify the front, to make it give a little bit more of a curb appeal.
Gotcha.
So not take away the,
Yeah.
But you don't have,
In the
you
back,
could,
there's supposed to be nobody parking behind there, but there is room on the westerly side.
He could skip the trees and just create more parking.
So
correct.
westerly is where these cars are, right? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's
So if
4
you-
there, 3 there.
Again, I'm probably reiterating what you're saying. If you skip the trees, the beautification issue, and
there's no issue here, honestly.
there's not a room for 18 cars.
no,
Well,
he'd have to,
no,
by
no.
our ordinance, he'd have to have two parking spaces
Well, he's
per.
got 9 here, there, okay? So he's talking about 9 cars for 9 apartments, but he's talking about 7 to 9 apartments, which means 14 spaces.
Do you know how many efficiencies and how many one-bedrooms?
The drawing,
This
oh, right
this
here.
one here. Oh, yeah, this is another thing I didn't see, so.
So this is the front, these would be 4 one-bedrooms, this is the front, as you're looking at those 4 big plate glass windows. these are the
1,
4.
2, 3, 4,
And then in the back.
5, 6, 7.
In the back on the second level would be efficiencies. I say 7 and 9 because we have 7 designed, there's potentially 2 more on the back on the first floor. We haven't come to the design for it yet, but, so that's why I said 9.
It just seems like the efficiencies would be more likely to have a single vehicle, probably a single person living there. one bedroom can easily house two people.
That's right.
For two
With two vehicles, yeah.
The data, there's other studies, and I suggest that from an ordinance perspective, that be taken a look at, because there are other studies across the country that show the demand for parking spots is not what people think it is. The data doesn't support it.
There's actually a lot of concern at the state level, I just went to planning about this, and pressure to get towns that have really heavy parking do, especially when it's, you know, for apartments, or, you know, the millennials that don't drive, they bike, or, I mean, there is a lot on this. Well, and a lot of this is contributing to the housing crunch, because you can't, there's a lot of issues with where there's some good housing places for apartments, and people want them in the center or close to town so people can walk everywhere, doesn't necessarily vibe with tons of parking. Where if you put it really far out of town or somewhere, you would have fields. But then, if you're right in town like this, a lot of times people will navigate, migrate to that, because then you don't need a car.
So they're looking to reduce the amount of parking per unit, or are they looking to match
Well, the state
more?
obviously would
Reduce the
like
demand.
planning boards to reevaluate their parking, because a lot are, we're one of the heaviest. Most of areas around us have more like 1.5 or even less. But again, the issue is where people want to put these to revitalize, like mill areas or something, there isn't the 2 parking spaces for one apartment. Because you're in an old mill, there's no parking, or they're putting it in the basement. So where there's great place for housing isn't necessarily tons of parking, like this situation. Maybe a great place for housing right in town, but not tons of parking.
So Mr. Kelly mentioned snow, so where's the snow go?
So that's the first pass drawing. We have more work to do. Absolutely, we'll come up with a snow removal plan. I have 12 buildings in town. We're actively manage our snow. We'll take care of it, I promise. We'll come up with a plan that does it. That's a first pass. Just feel I have something for tonight.
Was it, I mean, it sounds like if you don't have room to do another parking spot, you don't have, I mean, you're gonna have to pick it up and carry it away, because there's no place to pile it.
Fine, we'll make it work.
And, yeah, they hit that study hard with Spring Street, with the .7 seems unreal to me, I know.
And I'd like to see the study. I'm sorry, I mean, but I just have everybody's word that this is pertinent. This is what I've done in the past. I look at the information and make my own decision. I don't have it here. And and again, this is, honestly, this is sort of sketchy to me. I mean, this is a nice idea, but, you know, what are the alternatives? Where's the snow gonna go? Can you do
That's
something
more
differently?
kind of, that would, it's really, we're here, you're here to decide if you would allow this or not. So it's strictly on parking, not
So,
snow
yeah, the
removal.
zoning board would have.
Okay, again, zoning board, yeah. But the zoning board then turns around and says, we're gonna do it this way because the planning board says we're gonna do it this way because the zoning board said to do it, so.
Well, the precedent, and I don't know if you were out, Christina, what did we end up doing for Spring Street? It was less than 2, but it wasn't 1.
We gave,
That's a good question.
we
I
gave
don't-
them the variance to
They
have a
weren't gonna go
smaller.
down- They didn't want to go down to .7. They only went down to like .4. No, sorry, 1.4. Remember, they weren't really fully going down. They stayed above 1.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, we did the size, but we compromised on, we went off 2, what did we end up with?
I don't remember the exact percentage, but I don't believe they were ever asking for just 1 per.
I'm
Yeah,
asking what the number we approved was.
exactly.
You were asking for less than 1.
No, the study was less than 1.
I know, but
Right.
did we
Laura
approve,
just
how many
said,
parking lots did we approve?
I don't know the
All right.
exact amount. I do know, I believe they were asking for 1.4 parking spaces, and you then added an additional 7 onto that one side, so I would assume it came up to almost 1.5. I could get you those numbers, but it might take me a little while.
I believe ultimately we reduced the size of each parking space, but we stayed with the 2 parking.
That was
But that was changed after I left the planning board. I believe they came back with another request to reduce more parking because they had a snow issue or a water issue or something.
Wet issue,
Wet
yeah.
issue.
It was less than the 2, and it was 9 by, instead of 10 by 20,
18.
9 by 18. Yeah, it was 9 by 18, and it was less than 2, but it certainly wasn't 1. But
It was-
my inclination is to do the same number.
Well, that wasn't even what I was gonna say, and I don't wanna segue away from this, but my understanding, and of having done this, is you cannot use the results of a case previously as precedent for the current case. Every case is judged
Actually,
on
no,
its.
you can't.
You
Oh, you were
can't.
supposed to-
And how
you
come I was told several times that I can't?
No, obviously, there's precedent with
Yeah,
anything,
but-
like, we have precedent with tiny houses.
Yeah.
And absolutely, the other tiny houses could be brought in by the applicant or you to state, how can you say no to one? But you can't. What, you do have to look at this case, though, as an individual and unique.
That's what I'm.
Can still vote against it, but you also could use what we have, you can use whatever you want to come up with the vote on this, your own
Including what is currently. In the ordinance.
mandated,
Mandate,
of
in
course.
the ordinance, yeah, okay.
This is a variance.
Yeah, right,
You could just
right.
vote, right, you have any, you can use any, you can't discuss a case outside and then come in here. Like, you can't sit on a board, you can't discuss a case outside of this meeting and then come in here and sit on it.
You can go home and do your research on the findings that he's quoting. And you can draw your own conclusion based on the findings.
Right.
Right,
Right,
right.
but obviously, so
What?
I could find out, or you could rule on 1.5 would seems, again, I'm throwing this out, this is for you guys to decide, but do you want me to go and try to pull up that data?
Not tonight. I'm sensing, and I don't want to put these people off another month. Is there inclination to recess for a week to get all this stuff? What's the will? Are people? I'm sensing you're not going to be ready tonight.
Well, are we in deliberations here, or are we,
No, we never made a motion, but
so,
Um,
because, you know. are we
I don't know
taking
if we
more
even want to get into
Well,
deliberations.
okay, then, and I don't want to, I don't want to break protocol or precedent, but no, I don't feel like I got enough information. I don't see alternatives to this. I see this with the trees and the other stuff laid out, but that, as he said, you know, he could come up with another solution. I'd like to see that. I don't see these studies. I was told these studies in other cases. I never saw them. I just saw some printouts. You know, the statement was made 7 to 9 apartments. Is it 7 or 9? Is it going to be 7 because they got to have more parking places, or 9 because it can get less parking places?
I can respond to that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
Currently doing the business cases, we're gonna spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this building to provide housing for this community. Between 7 and 9, we're still evaluating the business case. I'm trying to get 9, but we may not be able to do it with the structure. So that's why I came here with a request, thinking of 9.
What is the reasoning you're not going to be able to do 9 because of what we decide here, or for other reasons?
No, it's completely other reasons. We are looking at, we're still evaluating the structure and if we can
Okay.
get the extra 2 apartments.
So we really don't know how many apartments are going in.
But I came here with a request for 9,
Un-
which would be
Well,
one
no,
per-
you said 7 to 9.
Okay,
Okay.
9 is.
Okay, all right, no, I don't, I want to be,
Fair enough.
yeah, I want to be fair.
In order to be financially feasible for you, what are you, I mean, you're looking at 7 as probably a minimum?
Absolutely, yeah, and that is on the cusp of this being viable. Let's walk away.
So I guess, I mean, just by recollection, it was, I don't know whether it was 1.5
I
or,
think if I'm right, I'm probably gonna shoot myself tomorrow. Well, that's terrible. I'm probably gonna kick myself tomorrow if it's not 1.5, but I think it came down to about 1.5. Because I know you mandated the 7 up on that hill. And I never thought they were going for below 1. So maybe it was 1.4, 1.5.
So if it was 1.5, you need at least, for 7 apartments.
9, so let's go with
10.
9, since he's wanting the 9.
Well, I'm going with the basic, well, there's no way you're gonna get that many parking spots for 1.5 cars for each unit.
We
You're not,
have
you're not gonna
9.
get 13 cars in that.
Well, they said if there's parking on the side or other ways or in the back.
I still don't see it happening. I mean, you could take most of the beautification away, and I think you're only gonna end up with 10 or
4,
11.
3, 7, 7. Without the trees or minimal trees.
You're right, you need at least, the 1.5 would come to 13 or 14.
Yeah.
13.5.
I don't think you get that many
4.
cars in that lot.
For 9 units. Or 7.
Yeah, to get one, it would be 13.5 parking spaces.
But an efficiency
for 9
apartment, I could guarantee you're probably not gonna have more than one car.
Single vehicle, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
But-
that's a
but
single vehicle.
4 of these units.
Right.
Or wait for
Three.
the 7 design.
Yeah, I mean, one of them, but 7 of them are single, are 1-bedroom units, so.
So 7 at, figured 7 at 1.5 is, 10, yeah, and then 3 is
You're back
still
up
13.
Too tired.
13 and a half.
Yes.
I still don't see 13 vehicles parked on that, even with getting rid of the trees and the grass.
Yeah, and I know, and like Scott said, I didn't read the study, but I've seen it referenced in a bunch of stuff, and I don't see .7 either.
I can only assume that entry to each of these apartments are done by a central hallway of some kind.
Yeah, working on that design as well. The second floor, let's create a porch system with exterior access. Yeah, still working on that, because it's a concrete structure.
Right.
So we have to think about how we're gonna actually make the penetrations. So that's why it's, a lot, we're still evaluating everything. This is part of the due diligence stuff, this process.
Can you see getting 14 out of that? Because that's what you're gonna need. If it's 1.5 times 9, you're gonna need 14. Look, I'm rounding up because nobody has a .5 of a car. So.
Wait,
Make
I've
them
seen,
smaller and
I've seen
smaller.
them so far. I've seen them. They're out there.
Yes, they
Maybe
are.
it's not a lot of it, that would, let
Yeah.
If they all were required to have those, you could just, you'd have a ton of this.
Yeah, but then
That's Europe.
somebody's gonna pull in with a club cab pickup, and
Well, that's
Yeah.
1.5 cars by itself.
You could fit 1.5 cars in a club cab. So.
so, and yes, we're being real informal, we haven't put, we've got
Yeah.
2 choices. We can deliberate and go tonight, or we can kick it off for a week and come back.
Well, a week.
It's Thanksgiving.
It's
Oh, that's right,
Thanksgiving,
yeah.
so it's gonna, we would either have to table it till next month, or,
I think I'd kinda like to see the study as well.
But my decision on this will be at the end of this month, if we choose to proceed. That's when our due diligence period ends. Happy to share the study. There's many studies available online. This happens just to be the one from New Hampshire.
I can understand wanting to find out the details of the study, but in the end, all you're left with is the results of the study. Whether you agree or not on how they came up with that is kind of irrelevant. The results of the study is what's published, and that's the guidelines.
I still don't have to agree with it.
No. I understand that. You don't have to agree with it, but in the end, you may not agree with how they came up with the numbers
Or I
as,
might.
as the study is
Right,
concerned.
or I might. But, but again, the study he cites is .7 per unit. We're talking about 1.5. Is that reasonable? I mean, I'm.
Well, that
I'm having,
I'm just saying that that's what
That's
we
something
did.
that we've established in the past.
We did.
as a precedent,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you've got major population in New Hampshire. The overwhelming amount is in the southern part and in Manchester. No one has cars and no one has parking. that live there, or virtually, that's where you're getting over, because that's how people live. When I lived in Boston, you think I got a parking space with my, no, they would laugh at that. So I think that's where, because people live very differently when you rent an efficiency apartment, or you just, and especially if you rent a place and you say this comes with this spot, this is yours, or it comes with none, you fit, but I think that's why we're hard for us to manage it. But with apartments overwhelmingly in the state, people aren't driving multiple cars.
Yes, but those cities have viable public
That's true.
transportation,
That's
they
true.
have viable parking garages, they
That's true,
have.
but
they
that's
have-
where I think, don't you think that's where they're getting the numbers, Ben, a lot
Yes,
overwhelmingly?
yes, and that ain't here.
Well, see, that's one of the reasons why, as a suburb town, you know, having a 1.5 car minimum is, and that's not even in an ordinance. The ordinance is 2.
There is parking's allowed on the streets, there's not any no parking, but I agree, winter, there are concern, again, but I think that's where it's hard for us to rationalize. But when you think of the population, isn't it like 80% of it Manchester and down? New Hampshire,
I'm sure, but
yeah.
That's, again, not here.
that's not here.
It's not here, I agree, but I was just saying why you were wondering where the numbers were
Oh,
going.
so as far as his particular case is concerned, the one bedrooms, the efficiency, I absolutely understand, you know, one car is gonna be the max. I don't care who it is. But one bedroom, you know, my wife and I had a one bedroom before, and we had 2 cars. So it's you know, that's why 1.5 cars, that's what we were talking about with the thing on Spring Street.
You
I
laid,
thought-
you laid it out, I'm sorry,
No, go.
you laid it out, you said this was the 7, so
Yes.
the 9 would have, how many efficiency, how many?
Oh,
You said
Well,
2
they-
efficiencies.
Two more efficient, so,
They would be, so this is a second level, they'd be
Right.
underneath, and what we're trying to evaluate is it's a little bit below grade, we're not sure if we can actually have a viable living
but
arrangement
if you were to get 9 in there, you would still have these 3.
there. That's right, and we basically
Which,
have this
okay,
underneath these
so
three,
4,
two.
so 4, I'm sorry, it's 4, 2, 1
These are,
bedroom.
Each are 1 bedroom, yeah.
Okay.
That's the correct.
And then 5,
Three efficiencies plus- yeah, right, plus two.
total of 5 efficiencies, okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Mr. Kelly has something?
Oh,
I got a picture, to show you from the building is, and there's, I've been trying to find it. This is, the front of the building, this building's 100 feet long. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars, and that's about 3/4 of the building. There's also parking out here,
And that really was our base
Yeah.
and there's parking in the back.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
There's
You
3 or
could-
4 spots in the back. You go up there anytime, you'll see the 4 cars from the neighbor.
Yeah, well, it's here, right, that's these guys, right?
Yeah.
On the
See, I
side.
didn't see any of this.
Yeah, oh, it's here.
The building, where's the front here? I mean,
This is some,
oh, this is the front, okay. I see what he's saying.
Yeah, see, by putting the trees and stuff in there,
Right.
that takes up,
But
Substantial
this
parking
picture-
area.
This picture brings it to the other side of the,
So the building's 100 feet,
it's 100 feet long.
so,
It's 46 feet this way. The first part of it is 3,000. I built a 16-foot addition on years ago. And it goes right up to this building.
the street, yeah.
And I can have a picture of it if you want.
So, I'm sorry, you're saying this is not an accurate picture?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
So where's the extent?
Except for the trees.
that's where Sal.
Trees are.
You're saying you built an extension?
On the back of the building.
On the back, on the back.
Well, years ago, I got a variance, I built an addition on the back, and it's like, on the Beach Street side, it's 20 feet, it's almost up to that other building. And on their side, I don't know how many feet it is, but it's about half the driveway. I never,
So if the building's 100 feet, that's.
it's 100 feet long.
Yeah, so that's
It's
10,
100 feet long.
10
It's
cars.
46 feet deep. In the back, you can't see it from the road, but there's a 80-foot dormer, 16 by 18.
That's the second floor he's talking about.
So there's 10 cars across the front and 4 there, so
That's
that's
14.
And you could park, with the trees you can't. I don't know about the trees, this is the first I've seen it,
Yeah,
but if he took out the trees, you could get
10,
another.
yeah, 10 across the front.
That would be reducing it to 1.5, right?
Well, if you had 9 units at 1.5 per unit, you know, because you come up with 14. So you could do that.
Could do it if you take some of the trees out,
Yes, absolutely.
but that's the first I've
So
seen
you
it.
have to,
But you're talking, actually, you're talking about putting 10 cars all the way across the front here, then you still have trees.
And that's where,
Right.
matter of fact,
Yeah, you lose that and
matter of
that.
fact, this shows you even more. I got a car on the side, I got 2 there, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
there's 6.
No, there's 1, 2,
Yeah.
there's 10 cars along the front, I
Yeah,
think.
6, 7, 8. There's 8.
Yeah, and
Because
then
you got
there's-
1 there, 2, 3, 4,
and then
5,
there's room where
6,
the
7,
trees
8.
are, so-
And then you got room for 2 more right there if you had to.
on the side and on the back,
Well, where's the entrance is behind this.
behind that car, right?
So you've got room right there for 2 more. Okay, so you could go,
Yeah, this is what he's showing, yeah.
And then down here, there was a delivery door.
In the
Yeah,
back of
which
the-
he's showing.
In the back of the building,
there,
there's 4
on that
spots
side.
easy.
That still leaves it right away open, correct?
He is.
what he's doing is
Basically, he's
we're
got 19
unbeautifying your place.
He's got 380.
So we're basically saying that, look, if you walked away with us not approving this because of your parking, if you made an adjustment with the trees, you could put all the parking in there you wanted
It'd be
to.
nice to do that, but pretty
Well,
The trees are nice, I mean, it's a beautification issue.
if it's 100 feet long, that's 10 10 10-foot
There's
spaces.
9 right now. There's 9 right now.
I got more than that right
Yeah, but he's putting some
unit,
kind of an entrance way here.
But yeah, I think he's got.
Yeah.
But there's only 9
Using that.
But again, I mean,
again,
if this is 10, you could, you know, if this is 10, well, you could put 10 here, and you could put, you know, 4 here, there's 14 right there. I mean, there's room for 14 cars.
Well, I don't think you get 10 there. I think here you end up parking this way.
Yeah, you could put,
But I,
everybody parks that way. You
Yeah.
go
the
1, 2,
1.5
3
right there,
there.
I don't know, don't ask
And
me
you
this.
could get
But you could,
one
that's your
on this
lot.
way, because that's where they used to make
Yeah,
the
I
deliveries,
think they might go
in the
for
back,
that.
and on the side, I mean.
Yeah.
And in the back,
We'll
of
help
course,
if we can, I mean, like I said.
there's always 4 cars here,
We've had it also.
They never go beyond here.
We can help you with.
because they take care of that, but
It would be nice if it-
What if I make a proposal? If we meet in the middle at
That's
1.5,
20%.
I'll make it work. I'll find a way, I'll get rid of the trees. And that gives me some balance.
You want to do,
Well, all right, let's
want to
let's
talk
close
about
off the
that?
public, do I have a motion to go into deliberation?
I make a motion, we go into deliberation.
Great.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Now, I have a question. Now, did we just hear what we heard and?
Yes.
Did we hear it? Is this like jury is to disregard?
No, no.
Oh, God,
Because-
please don't say those words.
Because, well, I gotta do jury duty next month.
Oh, I'm
Joyce.
sorry.
What, so, okay, so he's made a proposal. Does that mean he withdraws this request for variance and resubmits one?
No,
No,
Or do
if
we
we
get to
grant,
just that?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
we grant the variance
So we
to,
heard that. We have another
He's just asked for
proposal.
a reduction from what's required.
Well, actually, right, he wants to have, we're saying, have the have.
Well, he mentioned the half, but you can determine
Right.
any other
Right.
options
Right.
or none,
Well, and
or none.
where I was going earlier, there is precedent for what I'm quite sure is the 1.5.
Well, right, but you don't have, like Scott said, well, you're in
No.
deliberation, but you don't have to count that or you can't count that in.
Yes.
Well, again, if that worked, I mean, I'm just, I don't want to, I didn't want to be limited by that, but I'm
No.
certainly willing to consider it, so.
Yeah.
So he says he can make it work one way or the other if we say 1.5 places. He's got efficiency units, which aren't even going to need 1.5. So,
And somebody in the one will have 2 cars, so.
Well, so
Correct.
in the interest of progress, you know, I'm thinking that, you know, he's asking for a reduction to 1, but if we give him a 1.5, and he says he's gonna make it work, then he has to make the numbers work himself before he's ever gonna do anything,
Well, he's
so.
gotta work numbers
we-
anyway, as he says.
Yeah,
But
so,
there's there seems to be a time constraint here, and in fairness,
Well, yeah, and
to delay this is gonna,
Yeah, no, and I don't want another meeting if we can help it, so, can we get,
Can we stipulate as a condition that the amount of parking area available for each unit is in their lease when they sign the lease for these apartments?
I guess you can put anything in there you want, but
Are we
if it's in
allowed
the,
to do that?
I don't know if you can require something to be put in a lease. I'm not sure.
That would at least hold the person that is renting the unit, they would know that they have X amount of parking.
I would assume that would be naturally in a lease, like this is your spot for this unit. I don't,
so.
Oh, you're
I'm-
deliberating.
I'm just, so we say, what? That we
I don't
say
think-
no to this, and we're gonna say yes to it?
It would be difficult to do it with a 1.5, that would be the problem.
we can allow him to have 1.5 spaces per unit. He's gonna have to police that, if, you know,
I just have a feeling that we're gonna end up policing it because people are gonna park.
that's
across
not
the
up to
street.
us.
Well-
It's up to us to grant,
well, right,
either
you
grant the
said we, the
variance
town.
or not.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
meant we, the town, yeah.
well,
Yeah,
We'll be
You
chasing
might-
them out of the.
you might be able
citizen.
to write that the parking spots should be designated to specific units.
Well,
I don't think we can get into the,
Maybe we can.
into
number
the
that we're-
specific lease application, I don't think.
I mean, it's resulting in a total number of slots. You know, if it's 9 units at 1.5, it's 14 total slots. However it gets, you're
Divvied
right, I
up,
don't know
yeah.
how that,
I wonder if that would fall into planning.
It's either 14 or
You
15.
might be able to do that.
He'd have to present this to planning anyway, I imagine, right, Christine?
Not necessarily, no. This is an allowed use in this section.
Okay.
So if he's not constructing anything, and he would be required, so if you require 14 spots, like that could be a way to solve this, just require
Yeah.
that at least and then when we're doing all the inspections, which would obviously be significant with whatever amount of apartments, whether it's 7, 8, or 9, that they meet everything, we would also, one of them would be your mandate they'd have to follow. Whatever that mandate is for the parking.
what we, I'm sorry,
What do you think about that?
that,
In other words, what you're talking about, the 14,
I'm going by,
Well, it's,
The 1.5.
It's either 14 or 15, I mean, it comes out to 14 and a half, so whether you round up or
actually, I
round down.
got 13.
13 and a half.
13,
And I
that's
rounded
it.
up to 14.
See, that's why I'm doing math in public, it's bad, so, yeah.
That's when I get this thing out, I got no pride anymore.
All right, so 14. 14, and we need to do the size, because the ordinance calls for 10 by 20, but we've done 9 by 18, there aren't many.
No, I don't know anyone doing 10 by 20, including the
Well,
municipalities.
that's something that needs to change in the ordinance, so that needs to be.
I know, there's a lot of things that need to be looked at. I don't,
But
yeah.
Chris and I went around measuring before the
Yeah.
last one, and they're, the only 10 by 20s I think are in the Shaw's
Excuse me,
Plaza.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I got
Oh,
a question. He has 7 apartments, and he has 14 spots, he doesn't need a variance, does he?
I might do 9.
He's asking for 9, yeah, so, yes, but yes.
So, are we, so if we move ahead, my thing would be the 14, and we need to do the 9 by 18 in there too, but that's not,
Can we do that?
that's
Yeah,
a
that's
zoning board thing.
Yeah.
Remember, we went through this
That's
before.
us. Yeah,
That's
that's
you.
us.
So we,
No, we're the zoning
so
board
is
of
there enough space in this area to do?
of adjustments.
Is there enough space in this area to do 14, 9 by,
18.
9 by
9 by 18.
spots.
Well, if it's a
I'm gonna
100
get
foot,
10
if
across
it's a
the
100-foot building,
Right,
that gives
okay.
you,
Right.
that gives you 10 in the front and
Okay.
space for the lines even.
So but the, what gets put down in writing says 14 spaces, 9 by 18.
And that would be part of the inspection process prior to certificate of occupancies.
And both of those are variances, the size and the number.
Okay, I get that now, okay, so.
Yeah, we're varying the number and the size.
And the size, right.
So those are. the
Can you work
two
with that, Doug?
I'll work with that.
Okay.
And we all work with that.
I'll work with
You're,
Well, he's
I
worried
see
from the town
trepidation.
perspective, they're gonna be parking across the street, and that's
Yeah.
not an I mean, that's a public parking spot, but it's not an overnight one, right?
No, it's, I don't think there's a big issue with that during the summer. During the
Wintertime,
winter,
it's snow,
when
when
they're
they're
dumping the snow.
snow over the bank.
Yeah, and Coronas will probably have a problem if they start using his lot,
But that would happen anyway, wouldn't it?
probably.
I mean, regardless of what we do, at a big party,
Could
everybody's
be,
gonna
yeah, well,
park there. I
could be,
mean,
you might put a restaurant in here and you're gonna have overflow parking, and have the same
Well,
issues.
and there is, I mean, for snow removal, do overnight parking in this one,
Down here, yeah, a little bit of a walk
Is it-
during
is
the
that
winter
like-
time, but
yeah.
off-street whether in New York, it's alternate side of the street parking
Yeah,
regulations
alternate
are in
side, yeah.
effect.
we need a
That's
bigger
in
parking
Boston, New
garage.
York, it's Hartford,
Yeah,
it's
take a
in every
parking garage,
city.
yeah. That'll be, that'll use up all the available funds. So I think we are not yet in deliberation. We are
No,
still.
No, we're
we
in
did.
Deliberation. We just sort of slid in.
Yeah, we're in
Probably-
deliberation, but, I mean,
A
is that,
beneficial way to do this would be to make sure that they, when you do the, smaller apartments, maybe just put it in, at least if they only
We
have
absolutely
one
do.
spot.
They have to register cars,
Yeah,
designate the number that they're allowed.
that would leave you a little more room for your
Absolutely.
larger apartments.
So, no, I'm just saying, you're asking how we word this, or how we?
well, if everybody's comfy, we'll wait down through the,
Okay,
through the 5.
you're not comfortable?
Yeah, no, I think I am, the
Or is-
beautification part is probably gonna be waylaid here quite a bit, but, I mean, it's looked like this forever, so it's, it was a garage at one point, so.
What was it, a garage?
Yeah, it's Rocky Cusinelli's, American station, I believe.
Rocky Cusinelli owned it? Really? Okay.
Rocky did it. Well,
Now he does everything in his backyard.
Oh, that's Young Rocky.
Oh, that's
The
Young
old-
Rocky.
This is the old, yeah, this would be his.
Young Rocky, who is just
I
turned.
think this is his uncle,
Okay,
that owned
okay.
that area. It burned down and was rebuilt to this.
Young Rocky in his 80s.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. He just turned 86.
Seems like yesterday, doesn't it? Somebody was talking about how old something that was built in 1970 was. I'm thinking, that's not old, and then I started counting.
Yeah, 1970. It was only 1970.
All right, all right, so we actually, we'll go down through them all, we don't need to vote on them all, right? Is that how we've been
You
doing
don't
it?
need to vote, you should all discuss every question, and then you could make a motion at the end, and that's when you vote on whatever the motion is.
Granting variance would or would not be contrary to the public interest.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Christine? For all of these, you need to answer all of them so that you'll know if because if there's one wrong or one that's a no, then the whole thing is.
They're not,
That-
they're
that's
not
a-
voting on every one.
Well, yeah, I think we did, I think we voted on them, we just didn't, we didn't all write the sheets, I think is
Oh.
what we ended up doing here.
You mean for the variance?
Yeah, because we used to have to,
I
each
remember,
individual
yeah.
used to have to write the
We'll
sheet.
sign it, we'll write them all ourselves.
We'll vote on them, but we won't all write it. All right, so granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest.
He has written that recent studies show, I would say it won't, granting the variance to 1.5 vehicles per unit would not be contrary to public interest because it's been established in a previous case.
Well, that was my question. How do we reword this and where does it happen?
Well, in my mind, public interest is we need apartments, and that's why it would be in.
Okay,
would be in
that's
public
another way to
interest
put it. So in this case, but he's
fulfills-
asking for a reduction in the parking.
Well, that's what, yeah, that was why I was said, does he have to or, I mean, I know.
No, we can rewrite
I was
this.
just
When we rewrite, in
When we
other words,
rewrite-
when it's that's what he's saying is granting the, so what we're doing is we're taking a blank slate of that and filling that in. And saying that granting the variance would not be contrary to public interest because it provides additional housing.
At 1.5 spots per
Per unit. Yes.
Okay.
So it provides additional housing.
All right,
Yeah.
And maintains-
9 by 18
spots.
Previous,
Right.
we're gonna have to get to in another, that into another, section. Because just providing the variance provides for additional housing in town.
So do I have just a motion that, would not be contrary? Somebody wanna move that?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, you get that, Maura? All right, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
And spirit of the ordinance, would not be observed.
Or is observed.
Would be observed.
The spirit of the ordinance is, I'll make a motion, the spirit of the ordinance is observed because each apartment would be allowed to have 1.5 parking spaces with the dimensions of,
Yeah, I'll put that in the sheet,
okay, 1 point, yeah, 1
Would
point,
you say sufficient parking?
Adequate parking, yeah.
Or you believe sufficient?
all right. The spirit of the ordinance is observed because we're providing,
You- right,
Sufficient.
Sufficient parking for the, yeah, you could say it that way.
yeah. Well, all in favor of the, spirit would be observed?
Is there a second, so a motion made and a second?
Yeah, I think,
I made the motion to the spirit of the ordinance observed because each apartment will have
okay.
an allotted, a sufficient parking, but I think we have to put the 1.5, the allotted 1.5 parking spaces per unit. You have to designate, I mean, you could put sufficient parking.
That's just for the vote on this,
On the spirit, yeah.
on the spirit.
The
In the
1 point- the
conditions, it's
1.5
gonna go in
and
the NOD for sure.
Oh, okay, all right,
No
okay.
matter what, you never have to mention
The,
one point.
the 14, and, yeah, we're not gonna do one, we're gonna write 14 and 14 9 by 18 spaces.
Okay, so the spirit of, because they'll provide sufficient parking
Right.
for each
Second.
unit.
Okay. See, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Granting variance, would do substantial, or would not do substantial justice. And yeah, like Christine said, this provides what we feel is adequate parking would be.
Yeah, and
So-
it provides housing
Right.
and with adequate parking.
So the motion would be granting the variance would do substantial justice because it provides adequate parking for the housing that would be done, and I would make that motion.
I'll second it, or Herb can second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And, the following reasons, values of the property values would not be diminished.
Well, okay, so I would make a motion that the following reasons the values of surrounding properties will not be diminished because it's an improved property.
It's also very like what is around there now. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's apartments and homes.
So it'd be an improvement on the property and,
Yeah.
and similar
Right.
It would be
housing.
a garage again.
It would what?
It wouldn't be like a garage, like it would be a home.
Well, that was a good auto parts.
Down or down even farther away.
Well, you got the one on, Main Street.
It's not Snell's
Second.
so did you get that, more of the motion second? All in favor?
Aye.
No, I got Chris.
Yes.
Or, thank you.
Okay, we don't have Mr. Kessler, who's gonna tackle hardship?
Don't we say on to,
That seems
there
like,
is a fair and substantial relation, and it is, the proposed use is a reasonable one. So we have to come up with two reasons.
because it allows, this is so similar in so many things.
lot
we
of
do.
these things.
It allows the property owner to improve his property as he seems fit. As he, within our ordinance. I mean,
Purpose of the ordinance provision is specific application of the provision of property because,
Would it be the hardship, the open space for parking? If he had more, he'd use it, or no? Is that the hardship?
well, he wrote parking will still be provided.
The reduction in size is the hardship.
He doesn't have any space.
So, yeah.
So,
Well, the reduction in size is to alleviate the hardship.
is not a fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose, property because, yeah, 2 spaces is,
it makes it a non-viable project.
right.
Yeah. There you go.
Project is not viable with the current space requirements.
Perfect.
And 2 spaces
Right.
is excessive for the units
Exactly.
he's doing.
Exactly what he said, it's non-viable.
Well, yes,
Yeah,
and
it's-
because if there were 3 bedrooms, the 2 spaces make sense, but they're not. All right, and the proposed use is reasonable because of almost the same reasons.
Because adequate parking is now available.
Right. All right, so, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right,
I'll second it.
take your pick, Maura.
Have we
Flip your
noted anywhere in there about the size?
No, that's
Not
what,
Okay.
That goes in the,
so then, yeah, if somebody,
Oh, I don't have.
all right, this is just on 5, so,
I made the motion
and
and he
take your
seconded
pick
it.
as to who seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
And then if somebody wants to make the motion to approve the project with 14 9x18 spots, I will write that.
So moved.
Okay.
So we're,
Second.
What if he does do less, though? Does he still, which I think, if he does less apartments, does he get to go down, or no?
why wouldn't he? I mean, this is a maximum we're establishing. If he can do it with less, then
I just didn't know, is
so
it 1.5, or is it?
what she's saying, if he goes to 7 instead of 9,
if he goes,
And all he will
Where's Mike?
need is
Where's Mike?
fewer parking spots.
well, yeah,
That's-
he ends up using fewer, I mean, if he's, we're
Then he
saying,
would write 14.
we're saying 14, 9x18 spots is the condition. If he's only gonna do 7, he's only gonna need 11. He's got more parking places than he
Would it
absolutely
make more
needs.
sense to put 1.5?
It's more
Yeah, I
sense
think
to
so,
do
yeah.
1.5.
All right, so.
1.5 9x18 slots.
So,
Per
but then
unit.
you have to say 1.5 slots
per unit.
per unit that are 9 by 18 in
dimensions.
dimension.
How he chooses to split that up.
Right.
is-
Like if there was only 8, then that's 12, right? That's an easy number, you just go for 8.
Right.
Yeah.
Four.
So he ends up with eight units, but he ends up with
12
12 spots. Okay.
Or maybe a couple trees.
Well, I'm just thinking that, yeah, I mean, if he has less, he's got more room for more trees.
Or you can limit the efficiencies to 1 and
More room for visitors.
Bit of a visitor.
Nobody gets any visitors, I'm sorry.
All right, so
That's true.
granting with the following conditions,
put up parking meters across the street.
1.5.
Revenue for the town.
1.5 9x18 parking spots per unit.
Per, yeah, with
Per
unit, and, yeah. And we're not specifying yeah, it's total units, not efficiency units, not bedroom units, it's units, period.
Or you can have one regular car and a smart car.
And don't even think about motorcycles.
All right, so that's the motion. Did somebody make that? Somebody wanna make that motion?
So moved.
Herb made that
Yeah,
motion.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll second.
I don't have a second.
I'll second.
Doc, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Well, hopefully you still get some room for some trees.
It's the land of trees. That's his diagram.
Goes with that one down.
So is this.
Well, when I saw it, I was thinking it was the one up Columbus Circle.
These are your.
Did you, is that your property too, Doug?
Perfect.
I'll email this to you.
That's
I'm not
perfect.
going to put that
So
with it.
Anything, yeah.
here's my, just putting this aside. And the economic benefit to society,
That's yours, unless you want me to.
more can be put towards the, so it's actually an economic benefit to society by trying to follow what the data says.
Do we have any idea what that right of way was for? Or why it was established?
I might know.
But, yeah, that's something the planning board needs to come off the two.
That's-
You know, I'm not sure
seems
we
like
need
a
to go.
waste.
That's an extra.
Did we make a motion to adjourn?
You can
Oh,
keep or
do I have a
leave.
motion to adjourn?
I'll keep.
Take a
I'll
vote.
second.
Allow fire and utilities.
Oh, interesting, that makes sense.
Fire lane?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourning? Yeah, so you made a
Chris
motion?
made it, Herb seconded to
Or
adjourn.
Herb made it and I seconded it or something like that.
Not dry.